Hey guys, so in this video I'm going to be talking about the hip flexor, the hip injury that I've had for over a year now. It's still lingering and it's caused me to have to take a month off as of right now during that period. And I'm kind of just going to talk about what exactly it is and give an explanation on what it is and kind of a backstory. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is backstory to the injury. So when did it start? So it was the beginning of last season. So this was, I think it was around October, and I had to take about 6 weeks off then. And that was pretty tough. I hate missing soccer. It's literally horrible. So that was no training, nothing. I started to implement some cardio exercises like swimming and cycling after a while, but that's about it. I didn't do physio during this first period, so it's kind of just, I was just resting. So after this period, the hip tendon, it got better. The hips felt better. I was able to do a normal soccer routine. I started training again in the gym. And then it hit me again. So I got another hip flare up and I had to take another, this one was 7 weeks off. This time I did do physiotherapy. But my physiotherapist did not really heal the injury. I was kind of doing it, and she was doing ultrasound, massage, and the electric shock machine every single time. She was giving me exercises, but they weren't working. So yeah. So then, after I knew that didn't work, I did take the 7 weeks off. And I came back to exercise, but I went to a new physiotherapist because I was still feeling pain. I was still feeling it. So I just kind of wanted to get it better overall. So now I'm with this current physiotherapist, and I right now have to take a month off due to it not being able to heal. It's not getting better. We've almost plateaued with my physio. So yeah. So now I'm going to explain to you the 3 conditions that I have in my hip as of right now. And just give you kind of some information about them. So I did make some notes here on what it is. So the first thing is hip flexor tendonitis. So I wore some compression shorts to show you exactly where it is. So pretty much my hip flexor is right here. So that would be this muscle going all the way down here. Its insertion point is up here, so that's why I get a lot of pain there. And then it just travels all down, and sometimes I even get a lot of quad tightness due to that. So it's hip flexor tendonitis, which causes pain and tenderness in the front of my hip, which is where I showed you. The pain might be worse when you bend your hip. So when I do this, like lift my leg, obviously I get more pain in the hips. And it's also in both of my hips now. It started off in one, and then it just developed in the other one. So my hip or groin area might feel sort of touch. So pretty much this injury is almost a ripple effect. So the insertion point of a lot of muscles in my hip is right here. And it's like a bone, and that bone is always really tender. Like right now it's tender to the touch. But that's because all of them insert, and then once these muscles get tired, my hip flexors take over, and that's why I'm starting to develop hip flexor tendonitis. And that's why I also feel some in my groin area right here. And you might also hear or feel a popping sound. So when I go like this, as you can probably hear, let's do, it's not as bad on this side, it's still there. Yeah, so that's the tendon rubbing over the bone because it's so tight, and it just pops like that, kind of really a lot of friction. And that's why my goal kicks have always suffered due to this like popping sound. And so that's the tendon running across the hip bone. So the main question that everyone really wants to know is how long does it take to heal? So it's pretty much a strain and inflammation. So it might take a few weeks to heal, but severe strain can take 6 weeks or more to heal. So failing to rest or recover a hip fracture stain will result in worse injury and greater pain in later time. So obviously I wasn't put on the proper rehab routine, and I wasn't strengthening it properly, and this caused it to come back. So the treatment is, many people can take care of it using the Rice method. It's rest, ice, compression, and elevation, and taking over-the-counter pain medication. So I've taken anti-inflammatories for like a 6-week period. That was kind of at the beginning. But I don't take anti-inflammatories unless I absolutely need it, because my body will just get used to it. So right now I take a leave when I have a game, just because like I have to play a game. Like I had to in Castle when we went to the showcase. I took anti-inflammatories every single game so that I wouldn't feel pain. And also, like, physiotherapy would be one of the treatment, and strengthening the hip area. So also what I can do, and I do it on my own, it's called friction massage. So pretty much it's going right across the muscle like this, back and forth for about 5 minutes. And so what that does is it helps the fibers, the connective tissue, heal properly. So instead of it healing like in jagged form, like say it heals like this, it can heal like this properly. And also anti-inflammatories, which have already been prescribed. I'm going to put a visual up on screen just so you can see kind of exactly where it is. So yeah, it's pretty bad. The next thing I have is gluteus medius tendonitis. So that would be right up here in this muscle. There's one that goes right up here. So it's pretty much right on my hip, and it's always very, very sore there. Yeah, and also can be back right here. Yeah, it's like right there. Like I can feel it right to the touch, it already hurts. So it's one of the key muscles surrounding the hip. Obviously, you have to move with this muscle. It's on the side of the hip, and tendons or tears of the muscle often occur after injury or with long term. So there's obviously probably a lot of micro tears in there. Nothing severe, but it's still torn. Like there's still tears there. And these tears generally cause pain, weakness in the side of the hip, and the IT band is usually stiff. So the IT band runs along the whole side of my hip, and that all like becomes very, very tight a lot of the time, which is it's a very painful muscle to get worked on or massaged. Yeah, so. The next question is, how long does it take to heal? So it's pretty similar to the hip flexor. Physiotherapy is probably the best option, which is what I am doing right now. And the improvement in the short term would be 8 weeks. So obviously I've taken 6 weeks, 7 weeks, and now I have to take a month. Right now it's not as severe as when I took 6 weeks, 7 weeks, because I could still train on it. But it was just painful. And then long term, it could be up to 52 weeks. Pretty much I've been off for around 4 months in total. I would say probably even more. Like the 6 weeks, 7 weeks, now 4. That's around a month. And then plus the individual days that I've had to take off due to pain would add up to over 4 months. And then they would, so pretty much what I can do is there's this treatment. It's very expensive, but it's proven to work, and pretty much the doctor takes blood out of your hip, spins the blood. It's almost like it's new blood, and it helps it heal quicker. There's about $500 per injection. You need 2 injections per muscle. So it would be about $2,000 to do it on my hips, because I have it on both sides, hip flexor and gluteus medius. So it's really not an option. I don't have $2,000 to pay. So we just have to result in physiotherapy. So the next is the treatment, obviously physiotherapy, so I have to rest. And this is pretty much the main one that I've been struggling to do, and right now I'm taking it very seriously. I'm a 30,000 step girl, and I got 9,000 steps yesterday, so I'm taking a really easy, I'm avoid any activity that keeps the pain worse. applying ice for 20 minutes at a time is often secondary hourly. So for the first 72 hours, right now, ice is not going to really do me much benefit. So I do heat. This just relaxes the muscle. I actually have a heating pad that I sleep on every single night. And hip range of motion exercises and strengthening, which is what I'm doing at physio. So I'm going to insert a picture to show you kind of where it is on like a skeleton, so you understand, because obviously I'm not a skeleton. So the last and final thing is hip bursitis, and I was diagnosed this through my MRI that I had on one hip, and I'm assuming it's on the other because I'm feeling the same pain. So a bursa is a fluid-filled sac. So it's like a small fluid-filled sac that's in between the joints. And this can get inflamed, and pretty much that's what it's had. Swelling of the bursa, fluid-filled sac, near the joint, at the outside of the hip, so when the bursa becomes irritated or inflamed, it causes pain in the hip. It is a common cause of pain. It can hurt on the outer side of the hip region or in the femur. So there's one right here, which is where I'm feeling a lot of pain, and that's like the joint. And then also there's one right in between, so right here. So that's where I'm feeling a lot of the pain, so I pretty much have it in both areas. So the bursa on the outside and the inner thigh bursa. So how long does this take to heal? This is a pretty frequent condition that happens in a lot of people. But it's very extremely painful, and can put you out for a while. Unfortunately, there's no quick fix to bursitis. Most often, tissue injuries in the body take at least 6 weeks to heal, and sometimes up to 12. So it's still the same thing. It's nothing that like you can go get surgery, heal it, and then you're off for a while. But like, it's something that may come back even if I rehab it and get it strong. So how long treatment? So the ice method I find only works if you have just felt like you've gotten inflammation. So say I had a hard practice and I iced. Like right now I'm resting. Ice is not really going to do much. It's more so the heat that's going to help. Anti-inflammatory medications, which I have taken, and I'm not going to take more because the body will get used to it. And Aleve is what I use, rest and physiotherapy. So that is what I've been doing. So now I'm going to talk about the current rehab routine that my physiotherapist has put me on. So pretty much this one, I'm just going to go through them. The first one is the straight leg raise, but I'm not reaching up with my hip flexor. I have to flex. There's a muscle right here. Let's see if I can do it right now. Yeah, it's right there. So that muscle, what I need to do is squeeze that and then lift my leg. So I'm going to do a quick demonstration. So this exercise will help me target those other muscles, so my hip flexors don't take a lot of the work. So the next exercise is a lateral band monster walk. So I have the band around here, and this will target my gluteus medius, which is where a lot of tendonitis is on the side of my hip. So the next exercise is a hip hike. So pretty much I get a surface, and what I do is I go down and up, and down, and up. So this targets that gluteus medius muscle. So the last strengthening exercise that I have is, it's a balance one that targets pretty much everywhere in my hip. So what I have to do is I have to get it on a stable surface, so I can use, like I sometimes use this pillow, put it on an unstable, on there, it's an unstable surface, then I just hold it like this. And then I try not to move and keep my hips in line, so moving like this or like this, so to keep up that. When I go to the gym, I do this on a Bosu ball, just because it works it better. So the last two are stretches. So I'm going to give you a demonstration. So the first one is for my hip flexor. So pretty much I have one leg up and one leg back like that. This one is elevated to get a lot of my quad. Then I just lean forward, engage this glute, and push it forward. And that gets all of this hip flexor. It's pretty common, but it'll get pretty much my whole hip. So I cross this leg over, pull it up, and just lean back. And that gets all of my glute and all up here. So the strengthening exercises, I'm doing those every other day so that I don't put so much tension on the muscles, let them relax a little bit. And the stretching I'm doing twice a day, so in the morning and at night. So yeah, so that's pretty much a rundown of my injury and kind of what's going on, if you were interested. So yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed, and keep motivated, stay going. Don't take for granted when you can train, because when you can't, you're gonna regret not giving your 110%. Like right now, I can't train. Training is my life, and I can't do it. So obviously it's hard, but I'm not gonna sulk in myself. I'm gonna study for my SATs, do other things that'll help me reach my goal that maybe I won't have as much time for if I was training. Thank you.